Hi, I'm Robb Kazenski. In 2011, I graduated with my master's from the Robb School of Business. I received my MBA. Currently work for the Philadelphia Phillies as the director of group sales. I'm a leader in the sales and ticketing office here for the Philadelphia Phillies baseball team. We're located in South Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park. I help achieve our annual goals of reaching ticket quantities and revenue goals that are set forth by our ownership team, and I work closely with our fans to achieve those goals. My responsibilities include ticket pricing and strategy, managing our single game suite inventory, developing some capital projects and improvements to our facility. I oversee staff and do quite a bit of extensive staff training, and I am responsible for regular reporting and planning within our department. My experience in baseball is that we're cyclical. We have a season once a year, typically from about April 1st until about October 1st, so late spring into early fall. And so we always start at zero. We have no tickets sold, we have no revenue coming in, and we start fresh and we activate and have a sales cycle that we go through every year. We're very excited to work with our clients to achieve their goals on an annual basis, as well as reach our own goals. I think one of the things that sets the Phillies apart is that I think that we really have sort of the best interest of our clients at hand. We're not necessarily pushing products. We're not pushing an agenda. We're listening. We're developing relationships with them and understanding what they're looking for and what they want out of their experience. Some people want season ticket packages. They want to bring clients. Some are using it for personal use. Some want to do a one-day outing, which would be a group outing or a suite rental or things like that. So we really try to help guide the client towards the right product and the right experience for them, rather than us saying, oh, we really need to push 6-game packs right now, or this needs to move. We don't really operate that way. And I really enjoy that about this, is that, in my role, we get to sort of help clients achieve their goals. I feel like I began my Phillies career in a traditional way for our organization. And when I say that, I'll explain that a little bit more in detail. So when I graduated from undergrad, I became I got an internship for a year, which ended up being more like 14 to 18 months, depending on when folks in my internship group started. And that is very typical here. You work after you're graduated from undergrad, and you get a job with the Phillies for about a year, maybe a little bit more. A lot of those job openings are in the sales and ticketing department, but there's a handful in other departments like marketing or events or community or things like that. But really the bulk of it, the biggest group of interns that we bring in are on the sales and ticketing side. We don't call them interns anymore. Like when I was here, we now call them associates. So associates come in and they sell our two main products, which are season ticket packages and group tickets. We train them on all of our systems, the phones, the ticketing system, our CRM. We learn about our ballpark. We learn about our team. We learn about our infrastructure here. There's a lot to learn, really, if you haven't dealt with some of those systems in our facility and things like that. So that is pretty typical within the Phillies to start there. And then after I was an intern, I was offered a full-time job, and I've been working full-time since then. Some years there's full-time jobs to be had, and you're a little bit in the right place, right time. And if you're at the top of your class, so to speak, of those interns, then you can get a full-time offer. Some years there's a great intern class and there's no jobs to be offered. So we might keep someone in mind for the next year or things like that. So my path was also a little bit maybe non-traditional or traditional, depending on how you want to look at it in sports, in that I'm from the Pittsburgh area, grew up in Pittsburgh, was raised there, but I moved to Philadelphia specifically for that internship and that job. So that can happen in sports, that your willingness to move or relocate can help you find an opportunity. And then that opportunity happened to work out for me in my case. But we have plenty of people who work here that are from the sort of the Philadelphia region or area, South Jersey, Delaware, or Pennsylvania. But I was from the eastern side of Pennsylvania, so not too far away. There are so many important skills that you need to work in the sports industry, but I think three come to the top of the mind the most, and that would be clear and regular communication. You really have to be able to communicate both orally and on paper and writing via email or text or other things. That is extremely important in our industry. We're dealing with customers. We're dealing with internal mechanisms. We have to communicate clearly. We have a website that we publish. We have socials that go out. We have press releases. We have all kinds of things that are happening that require us to convey information and share information and do it well. If you're trying to sell over 3 million tickets in a 7 or 10 month sales window, you don't have to speed through every process, but you need to make sure that you're operating at sort of a high effective level. And I think communication is a clear way to do that. I think the second thing that I think we lean on heavily here, that I rely on every day, is relationship building. And what I mean by that is, sometimes I don't think my clients are my clients. I think they're my friends, they're my family. I treat them as if you know, I treat them with a little bit of soft touch. When they need a little bit of the more stern approach, I know when to deploy that as well. And I think that's part of how relationships work. We have policies and we have procedures, but everything in the world isn't black and white like policies and procedures are. So we encounter all of those gray areas all the time. And being somebody who's in a more managerial type of role, I unfortunately have to deal with a lot of the gray and the fire drills, because they get escalated in my direction. So that is something that I always just try to relate to the customer. Again, understand what they're looking for and what their needs are. And then, yes, we do have some policies and procedures and how we operate and how we work. And maybe we're not too dissimilar from other teams in the sports world, but people don't know that. They don't know all of how the sports world works. That's not their job to know what the San Jose Sharks are doing, even though that might be the same thing that we're doing. It's just, you have to be a little bit able to just develop those relationships, care for people over time. And really, these people their clients, our fans, we don't want them to just come once. If we wanted them to just come once, that would be a different attitude and a different sort of procedure. So I think that's a very important skill. The other thing that I really like and enjoy, and I think is very important, is not just handling the day to day, but always keeping an eye on the long term strategic planning and thinking. Where is the industry going? Where are we going? How is our facility aging? How is our team going to be in a year or 2 years? What trends are popping up in the industry? What do we need to keep on top of? If you would have asked me a few years ago if we'd be using AI, I would have said no. But of course, we are using AI now to help communicate and do certain outreach with our customers. So things evolve, and you have to be able to strategically plan, be malleable, and be willing to make some of those corrections. I also believe heavily in sort of advocating consistently for some of those changes, because sometimes you don't get them the first time around, but maybe next year, maybe next time, maybe whenever the next decision needs to be made, we can make that decision. But if you keep pressing a little bit and leaning into it and you seem passionate about it, I find that those strategic goals are more likely to come to you. And if you just give up on them the first time, not every idea is a great idea. I'm not saying that, but you need to know when to let go as well. But really keeping an eye on the future is an important part of the sports industry. I really like this question. This might be my favorite question. And the answer is pretty simple to me. And that is, if you're looking for a job in the sports industry, I hope that you're passionate about sports. So the answer is get involved in sports in any way, in any level, in any capacity. And I'll give you some examples. You don't have to be an athlete. Athletic departments are just supported by a tremendous variety of people, right? You could be a coach, a manager, a trainer in the athletic department dealing with marketing, ticketing, event execution, anything. Um, I think being involved in some capacity in sports is your ticket in. You'll also learn what you like and what you don't like, and that is a very, very important thing in our industry. There is a lot that you can go into in the sports industry, sort of narrowing your scope of I want to work in sports is a great thing to say, but when you go to your first interview, you don't want to just say, I want to work in sports. You want to say, I want to work for the Phillies. I want to sell. I want to be involved with the clients. And here's the experience that I have that backs that up. You know, that really goes a lot further than just saying, my dream is, I've always been a Phillies fan, and my dream is to work for the Phillies. That's great, but super fans and fans don't necessarily make perfect front office. They can, but it also needs to be shown that you're willing to do anything, volunteer uh, at an organization or with a team. I'll give you an example. When I was in undergrad and at grad school at St. Joe's, I played men's club volleyball. Love volleyball. I could not be more passionate about volleyball. I could talk about volleyball all day. Okay. But I played, but that was it. I still regret to this day in undergrad not doing more involving volleyball. I could have volunteered to help a local high school or middle school team and coach or volunteer. I could have volunteered to help manage the women's D1 team and just gone to I'm sure that if the coaches see that you're passionate, they're going to say, oh, you're tall and you like volleyball and you want to help our team. Okay, well, why would they say no? You know, and maybe they would, but at least I could have tried a little bit more. I still regret to this day not taking some more opportunities and more action towards the things that I enjoy. You know, of course I love baseball too. But if you can just get involved in sports in any capacity, I really think that that will come through when you're getting into the industry. And if that's your ultimate goal of a career, then of course you should take those steps and sort of develop that passion and hone what part of the industry really does draw you to it. I think from a networking perspective, I think you're probably, as students, hit with this a lot, but you know, I think there's really two major steps here. Maybe learning about an industry or a sport or a career path, and then sort of figuring out what you want to do in it. So LinkedIn is, of course, a great tool to help you sort of break down any barriers to, I don't have access to this person because they live in a different state or a different area, but you can still connect to them via LinkedIn. Zoom or other you know, sort of face to face, but not really in the same room type of meeting platforms are great because you can have a conversation just for 15 minutes, but you don't have to fly across the country to do that. I think informational interviews or something a little less pressure filled than a job interview is a great place to start to just ask some insightful questions, see if that's something that interests you. Would you want to get into sales and ticketing? Would you want to get into marketing? Would you want to get into public relations or baseball analytics or business analytics or any of the departments that most major sports teams have? um, you know, that informational gathering side of it, then really target people. Once you know what you want to do, you know, you gather your information, and then once you're ready to target, you say, I really think I'm going to be best served talking to people in this exact role that I'm really striving for. And I might see myself in 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, then reach out to them heavily and say, and then you lay it on and say, you have the job that I want. Can I just please talk to you and get to know you? Can I shadow you? Can I come to the ballpark? Can I come just hang for a little bit and understand more of what you're doing, because I really think it is something that interests me as in a career. And as I said on the previous question, get into sports in any way that you can, in any capacity. I think that is the best way to go, with networking, because you're going to naturally network. You have your foot in the door. I volunteered to help sell 50-50 raffle tickets at my local team. Next thing you know, you run into someone who's an executive on the team and you have a 10-minute conversation. Boom, you just had yourself an informal informational interview and you didn't even know it. So I think that you have to sort of work the angles without appearing desperate and working it too hard, and just let your passion show through. I'm going to go a little bit maybe astray here on the barriers question, and I'm going to hit it from the angle of there are 30 Major League Baseball teams in the entire United States of America. That number is not changing. It hasn't changed in quite a while. Um, when I was in undergrad, there weren't a ton of sports business or sports marketing or sports related majors that were out there and offered. I know that those are a little bit more common now, or at least available at a lot of different universities. But the same number of Major League Baseball teams exists. So the barrier there being there's some scarcity, right? There's only 30 managers sitting on a bench managing a baseball team. There's only 30 of every other role in those organizations. Yes, there's basketball and there's soccer and there's football and there's hockey and there's other sports, and it depends on where you are geographically as well. That could certainly be a barrier. If you're in an area that doesn't have a pro sports team, natural barrier, you're going to need to relocate your life. I did that. I grew up in the Pittsburgh area and I took the job with the Phillies and relocated here. I've been here ever since. I haven't looked back or gone back or had to move again, but I know many other peers in the industry who worked for the Tampa Bay Lightning, then they went and worked for the Pittsburgh Pirates, then they went and worked for the Denver Broncos. They might not only bounce around geographically, but they might bounce around between leagues and different categories of departments between marketing and sales, and their skills apply because they understand the industry. So I think the barrier there being, um, you have to understand that there's scarcity in the market, and that the dream job that you've always wanted, it might be out there, but it could be hard to get. So just keep that in mind. I think on a personal level, I'm very proud to say that I have only worked for a person of color or a woman since I've worked for the Phillies, and I've been here a long time. So that's three different managers, all fit those categories, and I'm very proud of that. I think that MLB and the Phillies provide us with some DEI training to help us understand our biases, and we go through some things that MLB wants us to do every year on a variety of topics, including DE&I. So I take that very seriously. I think a lot of my colleagues do as well. I know that the Phillies offer our newest employees a mentorship program, so no one feels left out, no one feels sort of abandoned or left alone. You're teamed up with someone who's been here maybe 5 or 10 years. They might come from a similar background from you. There's some thought that goes into that mentorship program to make sure that you feel like you have someone you can maybe voice some questions or concerns or other things to. And then I know that the Phillies here, we celebrate diverse holidays. We're not just doing a traditional holiday schedule. So I think that we're sort of caught up or progressive in that way. I think with all of that said, though, I think that there's always room for improvement on this specific category. I think both at MLB, Major League Baseball level, and the Phillies level, there's many things to be improved upon here. And I think that you can see a want for it, but sometimes it might still lack in sort of like the outcome. So I think if they could involve some of the diverse groups or underrepresented groups a little more in decision-making conversations and be a little more transparent about how some decisions are made in that regard, I think that could be a helpful step. I don't have a whole plan on that. It's not my forte or my specialty, but I certainly think that there's room for improvement in the sports industry. Every day I read an email that comes into my inbox twice a day, and I have no profit to be gained from naming this organization, but it's called Front Office Sports. You can go to their website and sign up for the newsletter or just peruse their website. The reason I like Front Office Sports and the daily newsletter is that it covers all of the sports industry and it gives me the high headlines and the bylines, and I get to understand sort of what's going on in different leagues, different facilities, and what trends are coming around. So, yes, I attend conferences. Yes, I network with peers within my same league and industries. But I think just having your daily pulse of like what's happening, and we're not talking about, oh, this team beat that team last night. It's more like this owner is taking these steps and divesting or doing this, and this facility is setting a trend here by doing something a little innovative. Those are things that I think are very helpful just to know on a day-to-day basis, working in the sports industry. Again, pretty unique industry, sports, in that you have all these peers around the country. We don't really compete with each other off the field. We compete with each other on the field, but off the field, the Pirates and the Phillies, we're not pulling from the same geographic areas. You know, it's sort of set up that we can help each other and we get to gently steal or borrow each other's ideas and massage them and create them in our market, perhaps. So we always want to have our pulse on that. And I think that Front Office Sports newsletter is one. The other that I really enjoy is a podcast. Some of you might have already listened to it. It's called The Happiness Lab. It's a professor from Yale. Her name's Dr. Laurie Santos. It's more from a psychological standpoint, but she really goes more into what makes us happy as humans. And I think the interesting thing with the podcast is that it's often the exact opposite of what we think will make us happy is actually what makes us happy. So it's a good listen. There's several seasons of it, so you can, jump in there or jump out, as it were. But I really find that podcast to be insightful. It helps me understand a little bit too about people's maybe the psyche or psychology behind their buying behaviors. When is it appropriate to offer 15 offerings when maybe three would have been better because you just confused people with 15, right? So she gets into some of the details of that. And I think that there's things that you can pull out right into the sports industry for sure. I really like this question as well. I wanted to work this into this interview at some point. I think this is the right question for it. So, what I wish someone had told me when I was an undergrad or a grad student or, seeking my education was that failure is a part of success. You're going to fail, whether it be small, medium, or large. You're going to fail. It's going to happen again and again, but you can still be successful. I'll give you a quick example. I interviewed with the Phillies. I didn't get it. I didn't let that bridge sort of burn. I kept in touch with the hiring manager. And then the next year, they called me and said, "Hey, we remember you from last year. Would you like to come back and interview again?" And I did. And that's when I got the internship with the Phillies. So I failed at first, I thought, but it really helped maybe give me some clarity towards uh, understanding that things happen in life. Timing matters, luck matters, hard work matters. Everything you put into it does matter, but it still might not work out, right? So failure is a part of success. I'll give you another example. And I think Pete Rose and others have said this. Baseball is a unique sport. You can fail 7 out of every 10 times on the field, and you're going to the All-Star game. It is wild. If you're good, if you just fail 6.5 times out of 10, you're going to the Hall of Fame. Think about that. More often than not, you're not doing your job that you're paid to do, but you're a success. So I think that's a good life lesson there. This isn't 100 out of 100. We're not looking for that. Nobody expects that. You're gonna have faults, you're gonna have quirks, you might have failures, you're gonna have successes too. If you just learn from some of those failures and maybe let them simmer and maybe not react too harshly to them, but react to them and then let them sort of brew for a while. I think that's a good thing. But, in our sport, we play 162 games in 6 months. You're gonna fail a lot. And you're gonna just have to get up the next day and dust yourself off, quite literally, and go back out and play again and do it again. And I think that translates into the front office as well. So, we don't get everything right. We're not perfect people. We certainly have made mistakes. And I think that is a great sort of thing to just carry with you of it's okay. You can get told no for a job. You can make a big mistake in front of your boss. That doesn't mean that you are a failure, but that failure is going to lead to maybe something else, which could be seen as a success.